Hello students, welcome to the discussion of investigation, due diligence, forensic audit. This is the revision video for CA final audit targeting May-November 22 attempt, recording it in April 2022 so that you understand when it is getting recorded and what is the version. Alright, mostly we do not see amendments in this topic, so this topic will continue till the time the chapter is changed or there is some change in the syllabus. So this video remains relevant for a longer time. Just check for the amendments applicable for your attempt. If you are May-November 22 student, please relax. Alright, so we will quickly get through this topic. Total number of pages in the module when it comes to this particular topic is 43 page for investigation, around 13 pages for due diligence, and around 18-19 pages for forensic audit. Alright, so we have a 75 page chapter in our hands, and we need to ensure that we are doing it in a systematic manner to understand what will be there in the exams, and we are able to clear the exams also. Alright, so first of all, let me introduce this word investigation. We'll be very quick with this. Investigation, what is investigation? A systematic and in-depth examination and inquiry into something, that is investigation. Alright, so when you give me a situation, I conduct an in-depth inquiry to find out the evidence and come to a conclusion, that is investigation. Now investigation technique is used for due diligence also and for forensic audit also. Alright, now when will we say that you are using investigation for due diligence? What is due diligence? In this whole topic of due diligence, they are just worried about only one thing: valuation of business. So when one entity is acquiring another entity, at that point of time, the valuation of business and the purchase consideration that needs to be calculated, that is due diligence. So when you use investigation technique for valuation work and merger acquisition consultancy, that is nothing but due diligence. Alright, when you use the same investigation technique to find out a fraud, whether fraud exists or not, and to find out how it was done, who did that, that is nothing but forensic audit. Alright, so first we need to finish off anything and everything that they can ask with respect to investigation, and then due diligence, and then forensic audit. Now listen to me. When it comes to investigation topic, mostly the kind of questions that we have seen in the past attempt also are with respect to the case study based questions. Let me just show you the question bank. So in this module chapter, unit 2 is investigation. So first they have discussed due diligence, then investigation, then forensic audit, whereas I discuss first investigation. Alright, so let me show you this question, unit 2. See, what are the important steps involved while conducting investigation on behalf of an incoming partner? So you are going to get admitted in a partnership firm and you are going to invest in that partnership firm. What are the steps to be taken by you? 1 page, 1.5 page answer, cover from history, background, finance, business, operations, PSR, their partnership deed. Now since this is partnership firm, alright, their projections, their future, how will your entry synergize things, cover everything. 1.5 page of content, 10 to 12 points. I want to know everything over here, as much as you can write. Alright, so it's not and let me tell you that when it comes to these kind of questions, they can put you in any situation, although I will tell you exactly what kind of questions can be asked. But when it comes to investigation topic, they can put you in any such situation, and they will ask you to investigate, and with common sense you are supposed to write. Now you have been appointed by a nationalized bank manager. So that nationalized bank wants to give loan to a company which wants to expand the business. Investigate whether loan needs to be given or not. So you need, for this company, you need to investigate everything: their regulatory aspect, their performance aspect, their commercial aspect, their history, their future, their asset, liability, income, P&L, their credibility, their credit worthiness. Everything needs to be investigated. Only then you can tell to the bank whether loan can be given or not. Alright, so they will put you in such kind of situations, and mostly the question bank for investigation that you see, is a collection of such questions on the spot. They'll put you in any situation. So the chances of a theory question when it comes to investigation are less. So I request you to practice this particular question bank when it comes to investigation topic. Alright, practice the question bank very nicely. However, the questions which you will not see in the question bank but still can be asked, alright, or the questions for you which you need to separately prepare. For such questions you don't need to separately prepare. For such questions only read once material is there. Alright, so let me again structure what I'm trying to say is, for investigation, the questions that can be asked are case study based questions, where you will have to write 10 to 12 points, one and a half page of content, all right, and finish it off. Such case study based questions. And then there are other questions which are technical questions. Technical questions may you will find some theory questions, some pro questions from Companies Act. So now my full focus will be to focus on such questions which are normally ignored by the student while preparing the topic of investigation. Because if you go by the past attempt and all the trends, then normally case study based questions have been asked. But if they want to pull up a surprise in a paper, then they may ask a theory question from investigation. So what I'm going to discuss for the next 10 minutes or so, maybe the chances are very less, but I need to structure your content. All right, okay. So audit versus investigation, as you see over here, difference of audit versus investigation. So of course, audit is an examination of financial statement, independent examination of financial statement. Investigation will be into specific area. Audit scope will be mandatory. Investigation, the scope, the coverage could be either statutory or non-statutory. Voluntarily also it can be appointed. Audit is for a defined period. There is no defined period when it comes to investigation. It requires investigation requires detailed study, whereas auditing can be done by test check or sampling. Auditing, there are inherent limitations. In investigation, we don't find such inherent limitations. In auditing, we need prima facie persuasive evidence, convincing evidence, whereas in investigation, we will need a conclusive evidence. Alright, investigation is analytical in nature, audit is mostly compliance point governed. So you will not have a problem at all. But audit versus investigation, please ensure that you are reading this properly. Alright, okay. So this point, not a case study based question, correct, theory question. So I'm worried about such kind of points and I will quickly get you through that. Now steps in investigation, as you see over here, steps in investigation. It is a pure logical sequence for steps in investigation. What will be the steps when you are going to conduct an investigation? First you need to understand the entity, alright, and develop your plan. So you should be very clear about your objective scope. Then accordingly you will develop your plan program, alright, and then you will conduct an examination, you will get an evidence, you will analyze that evidence, and you will prepare a report. That's it. Those are the steps. So if you are asked steps in investigation, you will prepare it, you will read it in this manner, and you will write it in this manner in a logical sequence and finish it off. If you want to know about the content to be written inside that, then you can read this once, not too much of reading required. Alright, like a Chetan Bhagat novel, you can read it once. But when it comes to the report to be prepared by investigator, there is one question: what are the important issues to be kept in mind, while preparing your report? So when you are preparing your report, it has to be relevant, it has to be clear. If you have taken any assumption based upon which you are giving the result, all right, or your opinion, that needs to be very clear. The format needs to be very clear. If there is any limitation on investigation, it needs to be given. So nature, scope, objective needs to be explained. Conclusion should be given in your final paragraph. So you can just understand that yes, any report obviously will require these things, interlinking with the evidence. So basically these are the important issues to be kept in mind while preparing the report. Now I don't want you to buy out every single line, but if you know this, then at least you will write 2 to 3 points, which can tally with the suggest answer. So at least if one word you know about this, and if you expand, then also it is fine. All right, but do not just go by ABC analysis of investigation topic. It is possible that in your attempt you may find theory questions on investigation just to pick up a surprise. All right, then special issues in investigation, whether the investigator should go for 100% checking or sample. That depends upon what is the investigation. For example, if valuation work is there in investigation, then things can be checked in sample also. However, if the investigation is to find out cash misappropriation or so, then obviously 100% approach will be required. Every single receipt needs to be checked. Alright, can investigator rely on the past audited financial statements? See, if the valuation work needs to be done, you can rely. However, if the investigation itself has been called upon because there was a doubt on the audited financial statements, then how can you rely on the audited financial statements? So you need to discuss these things, and it is better for investigator to get a written instruction whether to rely on audited financial statements or not. Yes. Whether investigator will require assistance of expert, it will depend upon the facts of the case, whether he will require assistance of expert or not. If the issue involves technical things, then he may require it, otherwise he may not. Then investigator has to be very clear about disputing and conflicting claims. Now if A is an entity which wants to sell itself to B, so A is the seller and B is the buyer, and both of them have agreed that there will be an investigation of A's business. Only after that B is going to buy. So A, when he is providing details to this investigator, he could provide bias details, whereas B will ensure that he tries to investigator tries to find out some loopholes in A's business so that B can negotiate the price. So investigator over here has to be very clear about disputing and conflicting claims. Sir, how will this be questioned in the paper? We are not getting that idea. Arey boss, they will put up any two situations and they will say please react to this situation. Alright, so they will use this special issues in investigation. They will give you two issues and then they will ask you to react to that particular situation. Correct? Yes. Okay. Then look at this. Special aspects in connection with business investigation. So for any business investigation, first an overall picture needs to be studied. Then look at this. Their P&L needs to be studied. But don't worry. Alright. You will not get such a separate question over here. They can ask you a question on investigation of depreciation and maintenance. Then whatever you are aware about depreciation, expenditure and maintenance, including its financial aspect, control aspect, how can someone commit a fraud through depreciation, maintenance, as an investigator, what are the areas you will check? Cover every possible point that you can write. Alright, managerial remuneration, exceptional non-recurring items from an accounting knowledge you can write, repairs and maintenance, unusual year. So whenever you are doing a trend analysis, so let us say if I'm doing a trend analysis of last 3 years, then 2021 was an unusual year because it was a COVID year. Then in that case, I should not project the trend based upon unusual year. Then what I should do is I should take last 10 years so that I will get a proper graph. Alright, and one unusual year I will exclude so that I will come to know that normally what is the turnover of this company and what can be projected in future. So they are explaining what is unusual year, then they are saying that should not be considered in your projections. Alright, then fixed assets investigation, investments investigation, write everything that you know from your accounts and stuff. It is just like you had a chapter audit of various items. This is similar to that. Okay, inventories, trade receivables, what needs to be checked. Alright, then don't only talk like an accountant, talk as if you are solving SFM question. Alright, all the financial aspects also cover over there. Then other liquid assets, idle assets. Alright, certain assets are remaining idle and not being properly applied in the business. In case of some assets, it is very much possible that some plant and machinery has not been applied. You have to check whether it still continues to be your asset or not. Then for liabilities part, taxation part, capital part, interpretation of figures of fixed assets. So these things I'm not asking you to read it I'm not even asking you to read it once, because I know that if it is asked you can easily manage. But yes, for such kind of points I will want you to read it once. But anyways, I told you that you have to do the question bank of investigation. There itself such points are getting covered. So in assessing future maintainable turnover, whether turnover will be actually maintained in future or not, what are the points to be considered? So trend, marketability and competition and political. So TMC is political. Alright, TMC, Trinamool Congress is political. So trend analysis, marketability, competition and political and economic consideration. These things decide whether the turnover will be actually maintained in the future or not. Then they can ask you an investigation into working capital. Then in working capital, you do a ratio analysis of inventory to turnover, whether trade payables are properly paid or not. Your working capital chapter of your FM at inter-C level, you can easily put up the points over here. Alright, okay sir. So this much part is actually not a sensitive part and students can easily write on their own. If such questions are asked, half a mark, 1 mark will be deducted from your answer, no matter how excellent your answer is, because they have that habit of deducting half a mark, 1 mark over here, because it will never exactly tally, But if you apply your common sense, out of 4, 2.5, 3, you can easily score over here. Alright, okay. So there is no by heart part involved. I don't know why students leave investigation and topic in option. Even if they go through this video, they can easily understand. Alright, so no issues at all over here up till now. Then types of investigation, listen to me. You have statutory investigation, you have non-statutory investigation. For statutory investigation, please ensure section 216, 210, 212, 213 from company law you are doing it properly. I cannot discuss every single section over here. Why? It's not like because I don't know it, because it is not required. This is a revision video, so obviously students would have done their law paper, then obviously they would have gone through their law sections, and law professors are much better in explaining these sections. All right, so please ensure that you are reading this properly. When can such investigations happen? Like 210 on the order of central government, 212 transferring it to SFI or Serious Fraud Investigation Office, 213 tribunal ordering investigation, when it can happen. Then 216 investigation into ownership. Acha, when it can happen. So in these sections it is given who can be appointed as inspector. Firm, body, corporate and stuff are not allowed to be appointed as an inspector. Only an individual accountant can be appointed as an inspector. Basically chartered accountant individual, yes, not the firm LLP. All right, it is an individual person who can be appointed as inspector. What are the powers of inspector? Because he can extend his investigation to some other related parties also. Look at this. Either he can seize the books of accounts or not. Okay, so look at this procedures, powers, etc. of inspector, section 217. Because there is an MCQ on these points in the MCQ book, audit MCQ book. So what will be the duties of officers and employees towards the inspector? To cooperate with that inspector. Inspector may ask information from any body corporate, not to keep books and papers in custody for more than 180 days. Yes, the power to examine on oath. He will have powers of all civil court powers. Yes, then he can be given assistance by government officers. Then what if he wants evidence from place outside India? How that can be done? Then punishment for non-compliance of order of inspector, which inspector gives an order, and what if the company's employees officers do not follow it? Then what can be the punishment over there? So students, please don't be overconfident. Ensure that you are revising these sections. I am worried about that category of students who have exemption in law paper, so they may be out of touch. All right, so please ensure that you are revising these sections once at least for audit paper. Is section 223. I am giving all the section numbers. All right, 223, 224. So 210, 213, 216, 217, 219, 223, 224. Ensure that you are revising these sections. Yes, yes. Okay. Ownership of company 216, to find out the real owners of the company. See, so up till now those points were going on, correct? And then the statutory investigation sections are done. So we have now this investigation on behalf of an incoming partner, correct? So investigation on behalf of incoming partner, as if you are getting admitted to a partnership firm, correct? So look at this. Are you going to read all of these steps? No, you want one reading, you can do it. All right, but actually not required. Okay, so from history to future, everything is going to be covered over here. So one reading is recommended, but a very fast reading. All right, don't go behind every single word and stuff. Okay, then you will see valuation of shares in private company. SFM, you are done with SFM. All right, so valuation of shares, how it needs to be done based upon their net worth basis, based upon the future profits that they are going to give, net worth basis, yield basis. All right, so you can easily get through this valuation work. So as an investigator, whatever you have studied in your accounts and SFM, that only you are going to investigate. Then I told you this in the question bank investigation on behalf of a bank proposing to advance loan to a particular company. Then in that case, what kind of investigation? These are all that case study based questions which you can write on your own, not a problem at all. All right, one reading if you want to do it is fine. Just an overview if you want to get through, then it is good. It will make you feel confident. Then you have this investigation of frauds. Anyways, with respect to fraud, we discuss a lot of stuff in essay 240, 143, 12, clause 11 of Caro 2020. Alright, so lots of discussions happen over there. In your law paper also you discuss section 447. So they have just given some references over here. That is fine. But look at this, types of fraud. Types of fraud divided into two: fraudulent financial reporting, misappropriation of assets. Fraudulent financial reporting is nothing but fraud done by the management and manipulation of financial statements. Misappropriation of assets is fraud done by employees and misappropriation of inventory, cash. Alright, so stealing physical assets, fake vendors, fake bills, alright, fake employees shown, using entities' assets for personal use. These are the things that are normally done by the management. They will alter, false, or give or omit a particular information. Then journal entries, manipulation of financial statements, so many things that they can do over there. All right, now in this particular chart they have discussed some frauds. All right, actually it's not a big discussion, but you can go through these. You can go through this chart once. just go through this chart. See, unnecessarily where you don't require my explanation, I will not go and keep on explaining things. All right, it is better that you go through this chart. So you have to pause my video and prepare, so that accordingly, along with that, your things are also done, because sometimes video discussions may be longer or may take a long time, but if you do it on your own, it can be done very nicely. All right. Now they have given explanation over here also. There are fraud for personal gains, like bribery, and there are corporate frauds, irregularities, advance billing. Company officials indulge in booking fictitious sales in anticipation of actual sales, so they go for advance billing because of they may have performance based incentives, that is why. Then shell dummy company schemes, so they will open fake companies and through that they will transfer the funds. Money laundering activities, we have studied enough about Money Laundering Act, PAMLA. PAMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. So money laundering activities, routing the funds, it is done anyways. So as an investigator, here they are not asking you as an investigator what you are going to do. They are just normally discussing these things. Fraud at operational level, employees, tampering of checks, drafts, online payments, receipts. These are the things that are normally tampered, and accordingly the frauds are done. All right. Then off-book frauds. What is off-book frauds? The entries which are not reflected in the books of accounts. For example, I am the purchase manager. I order from a particular supplier. I ensure that my company orders from a particular supplier, so that the supplier pays me commission. All right. So this is off-book fraud, yeah. All right. Something that is outside the book. Okay. In off-book frauds, fraud perpetrator misappropriates the cash before these are recorded in the books. Oh yeah, that is also possible. So there are cash sales, I don't record it in the books itself. All right. So I don't record the cash sales in the books itself. Then in that case, this turns out to be my off-book fraud, or before the sale is recorded in the books. These frauds are difficult to unearth. All right. So they have taken that particular example. So basically some entries which are not reflected in the books. Correct. Through that they will commit the fraud, and it is very difficult for investigator or auditor to establish such kind of fraud. All right. Now next, cash misappropriation. How cash is misappropriated, everyone is aware about it. Teaming and leading, it was discussed at inter-C level. So if anyone wants my inter-C video, then let me know. Otherwise these things are discussed at inter-C level. You know that I am going to collect money from a debtor. All right, I am the cashier, I am going to collect money from a debtor, so I will show only partial receipts from the debtor, the other part I will misappropriate. Then later on the money received from the next debtor will be set off against the earlier debtor, and that cycle goes on. Correct. Okay. Fraudulent disbursements, so getting the payments done through fake bills and stuff. All right. Expense reimbursement schemes, so employees resorting to treating their personal expenses incurred for business purpose. You went out for a personal dinner, you reimburse that bill against the company. All right. Payroll fraud, fraud in payment done to the seller, to payment done to employees. So the accounts department may show some non-existing employees, and they may go for payment done to those employees, and they may credit in some fake and some other accounts for which there are no employees at all. All right. And then they may show that then they may misappropriate the amount out of that. So I'm going so fast over here because I know that you are aware about such kind of frauds. It is just that I want to ensure that you know that these discussions are there. Commission schemes, that salesman or the purchase manager. All right. Normally they fall for such commission schemes. So procedure for investigation of fraud, any fraud investigation from start to end, you have to investigate everything. Now cash receipts fraud, how that can be investigated. All right. So now how cash receipt fraud can be committed, first they are explaining that, and then how you will investigate it. Inflating cash payment, showing fake bills, altered bills, how it is normally done, and then verification of cash payment. All right. Then fraud through supplier's ledger, so through the supplier ledger how fraud can be committed. All right. So that is through that ledger how fraud can be committed. So some fake purchase is shown from that ledger. All right. Or let us say some goods were returned to that supplier, and supplier would have issued the credit notes, but we suppress that particular credit note or something like that. Okay. So these are the frauds done through supplier ledger. Similarly, frauds can be done through customer ledger. So if you are not comfortable with your own common sense, then in that case you can go through this. Teaming and leading is actually a fraud done through a customer ledger. Right? Okay. Inventory frauds, they may just, employees may simply remove the goods, or they may go for theft of goods, or they may manipulate the records. All right, then they may show more quantities issued to the production department. All right, okay. Then how you can verify that defalcation of inventory, that is the discussion over here. Okay, indicators of fraud, the situations which can indicate a possibility of fraud. DCP, discrepancies in the accounting records, conflicting or missing evidence. So first, if there are differences in the accounting records, then conflicting or missing evidence, and then P for problematic relationship between management and the auditor. All right, okay. Responses to fraud, we discuss responses to fraud and stuff in essay 240. Unnecessarily these things are printed over here. All right, but there is a 4-mark question that can come up, that whether auditor will be able to detect fraud or not will depend upon which factors. Will depend upon, look at this, skillful senior has opened a cafe, will depend upon how skillful the person planning the fraud is, skillfulness of the perpetrator. Then how senior people, how many senior people are involved, seniority of the individuals, and then it will depend upon cafe. C for collusion, A for amount involved, F for frequency, and E for extent of manipulation. On these things it will depend. All right, collusion is secret understanding. So if there is a high level of collusion involved, auditor may not be able to detect it. If there are small amounts involved, auditor may not be able to detect it, because auditor may not be focused on small amounts. If there is if the frequency is not high, that means the fraud happened once in the whole year, correct, auditor may not be able to detect it. If the extent of manipulation is too much, correct, from start to end everything is they have manipulated, then in that case auditor may not be able to detect it. All right. Then investigation on behalf of an individual or firm proposing to buy a business. Arey boss, if I am appointed as an investigator by an individual or firm which wants to buy the business, then what are the points that I am going to investigate, right? From valuation to their accounting to history, all the points are over here, whether it is a proprietary firm or company. In case of company, I will check their capital, their liability, then their shares, their dividends, and those things also I'm going to take it up. All right, for developing the purchase consideration. Investigation in connection with review of profit or financial forecast. For profit or financial forecast, I'll have to go for an investigation, just like as if purchase of business. So basically analyze the business from start to end, and mostly I'll have to go for project cash flow and profitability statements. So what are the expected cash flows and profitability statements? So students, not a topic for which you should be worried. In an investigation discussion is not something for which you should be worried about every single line. All right, just go through it, finish it off. All right, and the areas I've shown you where you are supposed to prepare properly, like that audit versus investigation, like those section areas. All right, then you have to go slow and prepare properly. Otherwise though, it is all purely based upon your common sense. All right, okay. Now when it comes to due diligence, come on, quickly, we will wind it up. When it comes to due diligence, for due diligence also you will be very happy to know that when it comes to the questions, what is due diligence? Investigation, but specifically for someone has appointed you for evaluation of business, or merger acquisition consultancy. So look at this. Shri Rajan is above 80 years old and wants to sell his proprietary business of manufacture of specialty chemicals. Sita Limited wants to buy the business, appoints you to carry out a due diligence audit, whether it will be worthwhile to acquire the business. Now, when you want to conduct a due diligence exercise and give a recommendation to someone whether it will be worthwhile to acquire that business or not, what procedures you would adopt? Arey Baba, from start to end, everything I'll have to cover up. Alright, because I have to give them a recommendation whether it is good to buy this particular business or not. That is why look at this. They have said refer to this financial due diligence given in para 4 of unit 1. I'll show you this para 4 of unit 1. wait. Look at this. Acha, such a short answer. No, they have explained all of these points also. Alright, now listen to me. Basically, just look at just these set of points. Whenever you get a question that one entity wants to buy another entity, what are the points to be covered in your due diligence process, correct? Then ensure that these set of points you are writing it. This will be a standard answer. Mostly such kind of questions have been asked. All right, so it is all example oriented question and questions which you can write with common sense. Now look at this: history, background, their accounting policies used, what are the information system, what is the structure of the management, then what are the trading results, past and future, what is expected, past, recent past, asset liability as per latest balance sheet, what is the current status, what are the cash flow patterns, All right, then what are their commercial activities, what is their future profitability. So from history to future and past, present, everything, they are going to cover over here, but we can't just write everything, right? So you should have this collection of 5-6 points that you are going to write. All right, okay, and for each point you can include some discussion. If you are not comfortable with the head points, and if you feel that okay, I'm not able to connect what kind of discussion will come into it, only then you start reading it. Otherwise, you can just think about the discussion that can come over here, and you can write it, and you can, to confirm what you're thinking, whether it is right or not, you can tally it with one of the paragraph. So don't worry about it. All right, so these are the standard questions that are asked in due diligence. However, there can be some more questions with respect to due diligence. Again, I am worried about theory questions that can be asked. Otherwise, for practical questions, I am not at all worried, because you are in a good position to write that. All right. So look at this difference between due diligence and audit. So auditing is an independent examination of financial statements, our basic definition of auditing, and due diligence is always for a potential investment, as investigation into a potential investment to confirm whether that investment can be done or not. All right, and whether it's a good opportunity or not. So it is specific investigation into this investment and merger acquisition. Importance of due diligence, look at this. Yeah, so there are 4 points you can explain on your own also, but just to ensure that it tallies with the suggested answer, confirm killer via VC. So the advantages, the benefits, the importance of due diligence is to confirm. It will help us to confirm that business is actually what it appears to be. It will help me to find out deal killers. Then VC, it will help me for proper valuation of assets. And C, I will understand whether it is complying with my criteria. Means I would have kept one criteria that I need this much return on investment also. So whether it is complying with that particular criteria or not. All right, then you have this point, theory point, classification of due diligence. Are basically a big exercise of due diligence. When one entity is going to buy another entity and they're appointing you for due diligence, this big exercise of due diligence can be classified into various areas. Are basically just think about all areas of business. Yeah, a big exercise of due diligence will involve commercial operational due diligence, finance, tax, IT system, law, business environment, and human resource. These are the things that make up a particular entity, correct? So a due diligence of everything: commercial operation due diligence, financial due diligence, tax due diligence, information system due diligence, legal due diligence, business environment due diligence, human resource due diligence. You don't need a code word for this. All right, operations, finance, tax, law, HR, IT, business environment, all of this needs to be considered, and that is your classification of due diligence. All right, now as I told you that if one entity is going to buy another entity, then please ensure that you cover these areas. All right, now there are some examples which can be asked as examination question, which have been their favorites: hidden liabilities and overvalued assets. Hidden liabilities, yes, contingent liability provisions. So contingent liability either not disclosed or improperly disclosed, provisions either not recognized or under recognized. All right, now think about different liabilities or provisions. All right, either the actual liabilities can be understated, all right, or omitted completely, and then they've explained this with various examples. So not necessary that you by heart all the examples, any 5 to 6, whatever you feel that you can remember it, please go through it. Mostly you will find easy points over here. Overvalued assets, just think about the whole balance sheet. Obviously when you are considering, when you are doing due diligence, you'll be worried about overvalued asset. So just think about the asset side of the balance sheet, and what if the assets are overvalued. So just think about fixed assets, investments, how they can be overvalued. So we'll check that should not happen, correct? So you can go through these points, these examples over here. Okay, then due diligence of a cash flow. All right, whether the cash flow is good or not, whether the company is able to pay its creditors on time, whether the company is generating enough cash. All right, whether the company is able to rotate the cash properly or not, how it is doing its fund management. So that is how a cash flow can be taken up in a due diligence. So such kind of points I'm expecting for 4 marks. All right, work approach to diligence, I'm not expecting this point in exam, but it's okay. When I'm going to start the work on due diligence, I need to review the financials, I need to be very clear with the business, I need to understand their business, then I need to carry out my whole due diligence exercise, and at the end I need to give them an offer. So FB financials, business, understanding, due diligence process, and offer, FBDD, offer. All right. Then they have said that there has to be a 6-dimensional process for due diligence. All right. Means first define what is the purpose, why you're doing it. All right. Then diagnose the problem, design your procedures, perform it. All right. Discover what are the areas where attention is required. Deliver means perform it, find out the evidence, and form your conclusions, and then defend it. All right. That is, this is what you have concluded. All right. I'm not expecting such kind of question, but how to conduct due diligence, PDC. First is pre-due diligence period, then the actual due diligence process, and then closing and post-closing process. Pre-due diligence period, you need to discuss it out with everyone involved to understand the scope, objectives, the business. All right, that is pre-due diligence. Then due diligence process and negotiation phase. So you will plan, and then you will execute, then you will test it. All right, their business and their finance, their everything, and then you will prepare an offer and then take follow up on that. So closing and post closing process. All right, then look at this, how to conduct due diligence. Actually, they've given point over here: start with an open mind, get best team of people, take help in all areas, talk to the third parties, and then prepare a proper report. All right, so I'm not expecting such kind of question, but yes, be careful. If they want to set up a very boring paper, they can do this. All right, but yes, a question that is repeatedly asked: normally a due diligence report, what should it include? See, once I told you that this is nothing but a merger acquisition consultancy that is going on in case of due diligence. And in such consultancy reports, even in my IM audit topic and other topics, I've said there is always a summary, which is prepared for the top management. Correct. Then look at this introduction, that will always be there. So first let us understand common points which are there in all the reports. Summary, introduction. All right, I am cancelling those points. I mean, just for you to focus on the unique points. Every report needs to explain what was the purpose of that assignment, objective, then what is our scope, objective, scope, and stuff. All right, then every report will obviously have the recommendations, the conclusions. But why this particular answer is little different? Because you will see that this actually looks like contents of due diligence report. Now you will normally be appointed by the buyer to understand whether the company needs to be bought or not. All right, so you'll have to give the background of the target company. Look at this history, their shareholding pattern, what are your observations, their management structure, liability, asset, P&L, operating results, tax. So basically, whatever you have analyzed in your due diligence, you will have to write about it over here. All right, so that is how the answer can be expanded. Look at this: assessment of net worth, possible liabilities, what are their investments, financial obligations, SWOT analysis, future projections, what are their current obligations on their assets, on the properties. All right, and then at the end giving the suggestions on what kind of affidavits, commitments need to be taken from the selling company, and then at the end helping them to get a proper proposed offer and proposed merger acquisition, how it will be done. All right, so these are the contents of due diligence report. So I'm just worried about a few theory questions that they can ask over here. Very few, only 2 to 3 possible questions. Otherwise, normally these example oriented questions which you can write with your common sense will be questioned even in case of due diligence. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. All right, when it comes to forensic audit, obviously there can be theory questions that they can put up. And in forensic audit, normally what we expect is a set of theory questions only. All right, so yes, forensic audit you have to prepare nicely. Forensic audit you have to prepare nicely. All right, so what is forensic audit? It is nothing but investigation technique only, but to specifically find out a fraud. Now they can ask you separate definitions and words. All right, so everyone over here, the difference between forensic accounting, forensic investigation, fraud, auditing. All right, what is forensic accounting? When you are going to find out an accounting fraud through accounting evidences, that is forensic accounting. Forensic investigation, when you are going to interview people. All right, and when you are going to adopt some other techniques, and when you're going to look at some other documents. All right, and from there you're going to find out the fraud. So that is forensic investigation. That is the difference between forensic accounting and forensic investigation. Correct? Okay. Fraud auditing means going through lakhs and lakhs of data entries, and finding out where fraud has taken place, not how fraud has been done. So finding out whether fraud has been taken, whether fraud has taken place or not, and if yes, where it has taken place. Correct. So it is for locating the fraud and not finding out exactly who did it and how it was done. Alright. Sometimes fraud auditing can be used as a preventive measure also. Red flag is to actually find out the indicators or warning. So whenever you are conducting audit on some areas and you find out that there can be dangers over here, or there is a possibility of fraud over here, that is red flag. So sometimes debt equity ratio 19:1, that's a financial performance red flag. Accounting system red flag, manual intervention is allowed in an automated system. Operational red flag, construction business and their operations itself are red flag. Behavioral red flag, some employees behaving in unusual manner, so that is also behavior, that is a behavioral red flag. All right, just that these terms you should know if at all they want to ask over here. Baki, the word forensic has come from the Latin word forensis, means presenting in front of the forum. So basically, what is a forensic evidence? Something that you can present in front of the court, something that is acceptable in the court of law. That is why forensic audit is to find out such fraud and find out such evidence, for a fraud which can be presented in the court of law. All right. Then there is this distinguish between of audit versus forensic audit that they can put up. All right. And I'm so sure that after doing audit versus investigation and stuff, this is very easy to understand. Even audit versus forensic audit, their meaning, techniques, objective, you can easily write those points over here. All right. But yes, this is one of their favorite question. Forensic auditor. Now some points on what is forensic audit and where it is required mostly, such kind of points. Forensic auditor, in which areas normally is involved. So yes, he is involved in computer forensics, through the computer to find out whether there is a fraud. So then PD, fraud prevention, fraud detection, both of them can be handled by the forensic auditor. And then forensic auditor will help you to legally prove that there is a fraud, so it can provide you expert testimony also. So he can give you a testimonial or an affidavit which can be used in the court of law finally. So forensic auditor is often involved in, if you get this, he is often involved in some areas. All right, then please mention those areas. Then computer PD test. Okay, who retains forensic auditor? PIL, BCG. Basically every party would want forensic auditor, all the big people. So P, police forces. I, insurance companies. L, lawyers. BCG, banks, courts, and banks and business for B, and then courts, and then government, regulatory and bodies. All right, so these people, they retain forensic auditors for the services. Correct. So these are separate set of questions that can be asked. Now, importance of forensic auditing, as I told you, fraud prevention, detection, risk management, everywhere, such kind of importance is there of the forensic auditors. So you can read these ones, not a problem. Services rendered by forensic auditors, listen to me. Forensic auditor will help you in drafting the questions that can be asked to a particular suspect in the court of law. So crafting questions, if at all questions are countered, then he will also respond to the questions. All right. Then mostly he helps you in identifying document, individuals and evidence. Look at this, identifying documents, individuals and evidence, and also identifying alternative means to obtain key facts. If one way you have not obtained a particular information, then he may give you an alternate way. All right, so identify alternate, document, individual, evidence and alternative means. Yes. Then after all the information has been obtained, then he will help you to evaluate and analyze. All right, so please, when you are asked a question on services rendered by forensic auditor, you are in a very good position to write, so don't cry over here. All right, don't say that I'm not going to buy hard such answers and stuff. It can easily be done, because forensic audit, if one question which we normally see in every attempt, we are seeing one question now, if it is asked, there will be a theory question very specific from these areas, and you will have to write that particular answer. So write relevant content, get full marks. In forensic audit, it is possible to score full marks. All right. Then another question, services rendered by forensic accountants, they are in great demand in following areas. So please be careful. Forensic auditor, he will be involved in which areas? Computer PD test. What are the areas where forensic auditor services are in great demand? All right, then CPA, settles fraud. Criminal, C for criminal investigation. P for professional negligence cases, where we are supposed to prove that a particular professional is negligent. A for arbitration service. So arbitrators can take the help of forensic auditors. And then obviously for fraud investigation, it helps to find out settlement of insurance claims. Big claims are settled through forensic audit, and any dispute settlement can be done through forensic audit. All right, CPA settles fraud. So such kind of questions can be asked. Services rendered by forensic auditor, great demand in which area, CPA settles fraud. All right, yes sir, yes sir. Okay. Then there are two very basic questions. One is characteristics of forensic auditor, other one is skills. For skills, let me just give one word: knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of accounts, audit, tax, everything. But listen to me. Mostly forensic auditor will require knowledge of information technology, data analytics, criminology, legal framework. Don't forget this criminology. Normally for auditors we don't write criminology, but yes, if you're a forensic auditor you should be aware about criminology, legal framework, litigation processes, because you should know how to present a particular thing in front of the court of law. All right. So yes, send accounting, auditing standards, business reporting, knowledge of the business, then techniques, evidence gathering, and you should also have a proper network. So these are some unique points when it comes to skills of forensic auditor. However, if they ask you about characteristics, feature, then boss, it is like adding some adjectives or things that he does normally. So the features of forensic auditor. So as if, what are my features? Look at this. I have nice this dark circles, my features. All right. So what are the features of forensic auditor? So picks though. All right. So picks, P, persistence and professional judgment. I, inquisitiveness, asking questions. See, there are too many C's in forensic auditor. Curiosity, asking again questions, the feeling to know about something, creativity, thinking with a creative mind, all that, and confidence. Then look at this S, strong visualization, and look at this skepticism, questioning mind. Then though, D for detail oriented and discretion. Discretion means own willpower. I mean, taking decisions through own will. O, objectivity and out of the box thinking. So these are the features for forensic auditor that you can put up over here. Yes sir, yes sir, not a problem at all. All right, so be careful. Next, process of forensic accounting. It's a very logical process. First, it was same like steps in investigation. First, initialization means having a discussion with the appointing authority, understanding the scope, then develop the plan. All right, and then you will obtain evidence, perform analysis, report, and then don't forget the last step will be court proceeding. All right, whether they say forensic accounting, forensic auditing, all one and the same, just that in forensic accounting we get the forensic audit done through accounting techniques and accounting methods. So it is one and the same: forensic accounting, forensic investigation, forensic auditing. All right, but don't forget that the last step in this case could be court proceedings. That means presenting in front of the court of the law the evidence. All right, if in any point if you feel that you won't be able to write, then it is better to read it. I will prefer that this analysis of evidence, when a forensic auditor gets the evidence, after that he does analysis, this particular stage you should read it once, because it can be asked as a separate examination question. How analysis can be done: calculating the damages, summarizing large number of transactions, then tracing the things. All right, then doing the value calculations, doing analysis using computerized application, using charts and graphics to explain the analysis. So please ensure that you are reading this point once. Okay, then you have this on forensic audit techniques. When it comes to forensic audit techniques, yes, GST cat mining at laboratory. GST cat mining at laboratory. So GST, G for general audit techniques. The normal audit techniques like testing the internal control and stuff, those things are going to be done. Statistical and mathematical techniques, trend analysis and ratio analysis, these things normally we discuss in standards on auditing analytical procedures. Then technology based digital forensic techniques. Yes, here you need to go slow. So basically GST. All right, that is how I've come to this code. So technology based digital forensic techniques. So every transaction leaves a digital footprint from start to end. Things can be investigated, their email, hard drive. All right, then look at this, their digital areas can be done. But obviously digital techniques can be used only after taking appropriate permissions, because it should not violate the right to privacy, correct? All right, so many open source digital forensic tools are now available to assist you in this phase of investigation. What is open source? All right, open source software is something that has been publicly developed and can help you to access information which is available on public domain. without violating the privacy, correct? So they have given examples of that. So they are saying that, oh, you can do an analysis of the drives, you can do a live analysis, you can recover deleted files, then you can go for, yes, stenography and case and stuff. So basically it helps you to investigate things from start to end. 4 or 5 you can by heart over here to give example for technology based digital forensic techniques. Next, CAT, computer assisted audit techniques, that we do in audit in automated environment also, so using computers for data analysis, correct? Okay, then they have all just given extend an answer of generalized audit software, to help in selection of transactions, to find out, help in analyzing summaries and doing some analytical tasks. Then common software tools like MS Excel and stuff. So these are actually similar things that have come up in general audit software. I can give you example of ACL and interactive data extraction analysis. All right, so these audit command language and interactive data extraction analysis, these softwares help you in performing audit tasks. Common software tools like MS Excel and stuff are used for analysis, correct? Okay, so since I've already used computer assisted audit techniques, along with that these points can come up. So that is why I did not give a separate code word for these points. That is why I say GST, CAT, mining at laboratory. Look at this. Data mining techniques. What is data mining? Lakhs and lakhs of entries, large data, you analyze it and you mine that data and come out with some meaningful information, some hidden unexpected information or pattern. All right. So they are saying data mining techniques are categorized in 3 ways. Discovery. What is discovery? Finding out something new. Predictive modeling. Predictive modeling means first predicting where things can go wrong and mining data over there. All right. And deviation and link analysis. So wherever there is a predictive modeling and deviation, so predicting and then finding out the deviation. So and then this link analysis, interlinking the evidences that you have got in the data, interlinking the data. All right. So you can just explain these words so that you can write some content. Laboratory analysis of physical and electronic evidence. Yes, here they can ask you with example. Computer forensics, hard disk imaging. So using this hard disk, and imaging means trying to find out every single data in that hard disk. Email analysis, so computer forensics, searching for erased files. This is similar to the technology digital forensics. Analyze use and possible misuse of data, computer software to analyze the data. So two examples you can remember. Then a particular physical evidence, like a document, then go through the rules of evidences, then who has handled that particular document, chain of custody, then fingerprint analysis, forgeries, ink sampling, document dating, ink sampling, which ink was used, document dating, when this document was created, such kind of things are done. All right, it's an actually very interesting topic, but since you have only theory questions, so I'm taking you through the theory questions that can be asked. So they can ask you a question on audit techniques for forensic audit. Forensic auditor may use explain any 4 techniques properly, such kind of question. Or they will put up a question on this technology digital based forensics, or they will put up a question on this laboratory analysis. That means they may give 2 techniques and they will ask you to explain. Such kind of question can also be put up. Yes. Now forensic audit report. When a forensic auditor is developing his report, he needs to keep in mind clear kufi means clarity of thought. All right. And then kufi means keeping the reader uppermost in mind. He should have unbiased approach. Facts and figures should be analyzed, and impact of the report should be clearly described. All right, and he should think that what can be the impact of this particular report. All right, so clear kufi, points to be kept in mind while reporting. Don't forget this, points to be kept in mind while reporting. All right, then they can ask you this question: what are the factors to be considered for presentation of the report? Factors to be considered for presentation of the report. All right, so look at this NADU IP. Then for presenting the report, you should be very clear about what is the business for which you did forensic audit, who is the user, so nature of the business, nature of the user, then look at this for nature of the subject, sorry, and then who is the user. So look at this, nature of the business, nature of the point for which forensic audit was done, then what was your approach, A for approach, then give D for proper details, and then U for user, and then IP, based upon the instructions of your client and based upon the purpose of forensic audit. So these things will help you to develop a proper presentation. All right, I'm not asking you to buy hard, but actually if you go through this, you realize, okay, these things help you to decide the presentation of the forensic audit report, because there is no PDF or document where or standard where they have said that, okay, forensic audit report should look in this manner only. It will be flexible depending upon the need of the client. All right, yes. Then they are giving you a sample table of contents for forensic audit report. Obviously, such reports will have a summary of everything that was done in forensic auditing, so that the top management can refer to it. Otherwise, what will you find in forensic audit report? First, how you analyze things. What was your process? What kind of evidence you got, and what are your recommendations? Those things you will find it over here. How you analyze things, how you analyze their internal business environment and their external environment. Then what was the procedure performed by you? Then how you collected evidence and what was the procedure done by you. Then what is the evidence that you have got for particular events that have happened. All right, they have just explained various risk events, various frauds for which you have got the evidence. Then what are your recommendations and who will implement those recommendations, governance on recommendation implementation, how much budget will be involved in implementing those recommendations. And while doing this forensic audit, who are the members who were interviewed by you, what was the organization chart that you have used. Then some analysis, more detailed analysis and stuff can be given as annexure basically. All right, yes, yes sir, yes sir. So with my video, if you just take 20-30 minutes more, so forensic audit if you do nicely, and investigation, due diligence, ensure that you're practicing these questions in the question bank, and some areas which I told you can be asked in theory. If you do this, your revision is done and dusted for investigation, due diligence and forensic audit. Thank you so much. Continue with the app for revision videos.